Today we're going to talk about how to create abundance in your yoga studio. This is obviously an important topic for all of us who are running studios. Keeping classes full is obviously a top priority to allow us to share, our knowledge amongst our local communities and spread our love of yoga. So let's get right into some things here. First of all, let's ask ourselves and go back to the question of why did we open a studio in the first place? Most of us, I'm sure, opened our studios because of our love of yoga. We wanted to be able to give people a place where they could practice. All the genuine reasons why yoga has become as popular as it has today, all the great benefits that it can do for ourselves. Now let's look for a second here at probably why we did not open a studio. My guess is that we didn't open a studio because we wanted to study marketing and analytics. We probably didn't open a studio for our love of JavaScript and web development. We probably didn't open a studio because we wanted to understand the psychological aspects of social media. We probably didn't open the studio because we wanted to become professional bookkeepers. We didn't do it because we wanted to sit on the phone or at a computer following up with prospective students. We didn't do it because we wanted to become bill collectors. And we didn't do it because we wanted to chase students down for missing classes and read between the lines of real versus artificial reasons for not coming. I'm sure we can all pretty much agree that these are pretty valid points here. So let's look at the good news. The good news is that nowadays everyone is practicing. The number of people practicing yoga in the United States has doubled what it was just 5 years ago, which is great. The bad news is that there are studios absolutely everywhere. There are more than double the yoga studios in the United States that there was just 5 years ago. So obviously, the biggest thing now is have your classes doubled in size. If your classes haven't doubled in size and the number of people practicing has doubled, then there's just some things that we might want to pay attention to. So this brings us to our 3 steps towards abundance in our studios and keeping our classes full and allows us to focus on what's most important to us, which is teaching classes and sharing our awareness throughout our communities. So it breaks down into 3 different steps. GNC, student retention and automation. If we have all 3 of these in place, then we will be rewarded with abundance. Let's look at GNC. GNC basically stands for generate, nurture, and convert. Okay, what and why? In order for us to keep a steady flow of new students coming into our studio, we need to generate new interest. Online generally is the mainstream that people are utilizing nowadays to generate awareness of their studio. The second thing is to nurture the people who are curious, but are maybe not ready to take action, try a class, and so forth. And the third thing is converting them into students, providing with a little simple ways that you can get them into a class or at least into a situation where you have the ability to follow up with them. So the most common challenges that people find is their online presence not being found. Maybe their website is out of date, or it's just not interactive with content that people are drawn to, or their search engine optimization is not maximized. Maybe they're not linked directly into social media. So they have little or no activity in the social media world. Their website, as I mentioned, is static with outdated information. There's nothing in place to gather information from visitors. They have a static page, but there's no real call to action on it. They do not have time to follow up with the names and contact info. Running a studio is busy. Most people working 7 days a week just trying to make ends meet. No automation in place to communicate with newsletter subscribers or people who respond to their online offers. Strong content is not in place to educate the visitors on the benefits of coming down for a class in their studio. And the ability to convert interest to action is not available online. There's no way to book classes online in a lot of cases. and they have no online store. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you an example. Give me 1 second here. So this is my studio site. So what you'll notice here is specific calls to action, integration, the types of things that keep things happening. So if I wanted to, for example, I wanted to edit my website and keep it updated with relevant content, which we recommend you do on a regular basis, I can simply hit edit, go in here and just make changes to my site, save it, and carry on. Another important thing you'll notice here is that I can put forms right into my site. These forms are to give people really simple ways for them to, put me in control of, deciding how I want to follow up with potential students. But once again here, we're simply on my website right now. Notice how I have these social sharing buttons. I can share my website with any social network out there. This is important considering that the whole world is now on social media networks. Let me go into my site here. If I click on my lounge, for example, what we've gone ahead and done here is we've embedded our Facebook wall right into our website. Okay, the reason that I would want to do this is because there's over 700 million people over here on Facebook, but I need a way to get them into my site. What I see most studios doing is pushing people the other direction. Maybe they get people to their website, but then they're saying, hey, go check us out on Facebook. And they're pushing them from where they want them to be and sending them off into this place where there's all these distractions and things to take their attention away. So what I would want to do is I want to pull people into my socially interactive website. So one way that I can do that is let's use the example here of, I have a retreat that's going on, Costa Rica. So what I would want to do is I could share this with any of these networks. Let's use the Facebook example because, as I said, there's over 700 million people on Facebook. So if I just simply click that button here, it takes my post here and turns it into this Facebook format. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to link an individual. Maybe I've got one of my instructors that I want to be involved in this. And I'm going to just post this on here for her and just share this link. Rather than going onto Facebook, creating events, and doing all these tasks which keep people on the social world, let me go back to my page here. Notice how this post now shows up on my wall. So like I said, instead of creating a Facebook event, which takes people into sort of a dead-end type of page, I can just share it right from my website. Notice I've got 29 friends on this page. But most importantly, because I've linked one of my individuals who's involved in this, you'll see now that it shows up on her page. Okay, she's got 1,200 friends. If any of her 1,200 friends happen to log into Facebook in the next few hours, they're going to see this post. If any one of them actually click on the post itself, what it's going to do is it's going to take them right into the post which is embedded inside my website. Okay, so I can have somebody go right over here and go straight to purchase the page or purchase the retreat, and they can go through and they can check out and enter their information and go through things that way. But more likely, I mean, if I've got a retreat here that's, almost $2,000, I'm going to have people that are interested but aren't necessarily ready to just commit. So what I've done is I've used my system here to embed what we call a landing page or a form, stressing that people can either reserve a spot or they can learn more about it. So let's say, for example, here that this was John Yoga. So John saw the form. John was curious about learning more, so we hit submit. And, he went right back to doing whatever it was that he was doing. Okay, so notice how John now has actually become a member of my website automatically. That means that John has the ability to go into my lounge if he wants to comment or share. All of these things are now going to start to spread virally through John's networks. But I'm just going to log out of John here because I actually want to go back in as an administrator. bringing me back. Okay, so I'm just going to go and log back in here again. The main thing that you're going to notice here is that if I go into, my office, which I've got going here, you'll notice that John has now landed in my database. So I might have had John's attention for a short time, but I used social networking to bring him into my website, create a membership for him where he can actually be interactive on my site, as well as now he is in my database, and now it's up to me to decide how I want to follow up with him. So that's one example there. So let's go back to where we were here. Oops, that's not where we were. Okay, so those were the main challenges. Those are some simple ways that we can get around them. Utilizing forums, having a socially interactive environment to bring traffic into our site and where we want them to be, which is, in some sort of a system where it's up to us to decide what we want to do with them. Okay, so one of the other main things that's important, we've discussed generating new students. Now let's talk about the other half of the equation, which is retention. Because you can generate as many new students as you want to, but if just as many people are coming and leaving your studio is not going to grow. So it's important to have some things in place which are designed to create retention. So what are the most common challenges in retaining students? Not knowing which students have passes but haven't been coming. Not knowing which students have passes that are about to expire. I think we can all agree here that those are the two most critical students that we have. Students that haven't been coming and people with passes about to expire. Knowing but not having time, trying to run all the aspects of running a studio, that they don't have time to do all the little follow-ups that they might want to try to do in order to create retention. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring back over some simple things that I not occupy any of my time. So I'm going to go in. I actually have an email system built right into my program here where I have what we call automated follow-ups. Now I've got a few different ones specifically created to run on their own and create retention in my studio. For example, I might have a student who goes down to 2 classes remaining on their pass. So if this takes place, I already have an email, for example, which is automatically going to go out to this person as soon as they check into a class and they go from 3 classes remaining down to 2. So instantly, they're going to get a personalized email which says something along the lines of, I noticed that you only had 2 classes remaining. If you decide to purchase a new pass before you use your last class or before your pass expires, we'll give you a free class on your next pass. Really simple way to encourage people to get another pass before their pass expires. Other example here, if people have a monthly pass, same thing. Somebody has an unlimited monthly pass. Maybe you want to set it so that when they get down to roughly 5 days remaining, you're offering them a free week or a free few days on their next pass if they purchase before their pass expires. Now the third one, which is also crucial, is you have students who have active passes. Maybe they're not near expiration. Maybe they're not near running out of punch pass, but they just haven't been coming. So what I would do is I would set something in place where, say, 2 weeks or 30 days since they attended their last class, I've got a personalized email which is going out to them. Something along the lines of, hey, we're missing you down here at the studio. Another simple thing that you can do to create retention is having simple birthday cards. Once again, this automatically goes out just based on the fact that it hits someone's birthday or that they haven't been coming in a certain length of time. So now you have a system in place which is reaching out to your most critical students, but it's doing your work for you. Let me just go back over here to where we're at here. So the third thing here is avoiding redundant administrative tasks. Running a studio there's a lot of work involved. You've got reporting you need to keep up on. You've got staff, you've got teachers, you've got students, you've got all these different sorts of things which you need to stay on top of. So the most limited thing that you have is time. I talk to studio owners every day who, they work 7 days a week, they're working 10, 12-hour days, and they're just still struggling to make ends meet. So the most limited thing that you have is money. So if time is money, then realistically the more time that we have, the more money we should have. So our value in the community is based on our ability to influence the lives of others, not our ability to do paperwork. So what are the most common challenges? Having to use multiple systems to keep track of the action in the studio. Worse, not using any system at all and having to do it all manually. And the worst yet is relying on others to do the admin work only to find out later that they didn't do it properly and now you have to do it. So tying everything into one system, automating everything, and having customized reporting is going to help you dramatically with your time and also, at the end of the day, generating more revenue into your studio. So for example, if I have everything tied into one system, that means that I'm using one system to control my website. I've got one system which is designed to integrate fully into social media networks so that I can bring traffic into my website and create an online community. I have an emailing system which is tied in here, which is automatically going to send out emails or newsletters or whatever it is that I want to do with it based on any type of parameter based around my studio. And then lastly, I have my office where I can keep track of all of my bookkeeping expenses. Now once again, having everything tied in one system means that there's going to be absolutely no redundant tasks. So let's go back to the example here that we were using of you have an individual, they've landed in your studio, on your website, and maybe they do actually want to go ahead and purchase this retreat right here on the site. So they click here because they know that this is what they want to do. They want to go right to checkout because they're going to Costa Rica. So let's just say that this was any individual here. We're just going to, for simplicity here, we'll have them pay by cash. Complete. Okay, so I can actually have a receipt immediately emailed to them. I can print it off, or what I can do is I can actually share this. So now that I'm going to Costa Rica, I've given people the opportunity to utilize my tools here to spread through these social networks and bring more people into my website. Great little integration there. So I'm just going to close this off here. Now because I've got everything in one system, I've brought them in here using social media. I've put them in a position where they can purchase right here on my site. Now if I go into my actual office, what I'm going to see here is that in my reporting here, and I want to look at my sales, for example, all of a sudden we're going to see that this Costa Rican retreat just generated me $1,789. I've got every possible report that I could need in here, and the nice thing is it's all happening automatically. So this is updating in here if I want to look at my marketing reports because I want to see where all of my students have come from. I can simply go through here and look at the leads in the campaign. So I've got all these different forms on all these different pages, but if I don't know exactly which ones are working, which ones aren't working, then I really don't know where to focus my energy. I can look at all the emails that have been sent through my system here. It's going to keep a record of everything so I can ensure that people are being followed up with and I know what's going on. Attendance reports. Maybe I want to start learning which classes are filling up and which ones aren't and be able to look at these reports specifically. Money. I need to know, for example, how much tax needs to be paid. It's the end of the year and I got to accumulate all of this data. Well, if I have everything tied into one system, all of my reports are going to automatically update themselves, which at the end of the day is freeing up more time, and since time equals money, we are left with abundance in our studio.